Welcome everyone to another episode of the Will and Rock podcast.
I'm Will.
I'm Rock. And freaking John Jones, man.
Fucking guy. It's the biggest disappointment in sports history. Literally.
That's crazy. I think you just quoted Joe Rogan.
What?
He literally said
in
he is
sport history?
of all time. Pretty much the same thing. It is terrible to know where somebody with that amount of talent could fuck up his life over and over. How many chances this guy got from the UFC and just threw it all away, man?
Again, the most disappointing thing that ever happened in sports history, because we're talking about somebody that's on top of their game, known as the best fighter in the world right now, pound for pound, and now he tested positive for an enhancement for steroids. Let's just keep it clear. And it sucks that his whole career is gonna be led to because of the steroids. They're gonna go back and say this guy's been taking steroids. That's the reason why he's on top of the game. It's what majority of these baseball players are not gonna be in the Hall of Fame because of the same exact thing, you know. But I always say, man, it's as fucked up as it is. We can't take away his talent, you know. Because people are like, he's taking steroids. Steroids might make you bigger, but your IQ is not going to go any higher.
Yeah.
So for him to kick Cormier in the head, I mean, I don't care if you're on steroids or not. You can't do that whether you're with or without. You know.
No, for sure. No, I totally agree with you. It's a shame. It's a big shame. You know, I think Cormier this time around didn't sound off, didn't go crazy, because legitimately he took the loss. And he says, you know what, I'm not going to mention anything till this is all said and done. He's disappointed if he is, but if he is, then he's ready to take the crown again and restart all over again. Which is crazy, because now he went back to having that mentality like, oh, I am the champion. Yeah. He needs to mentally go back to that. Remember, he just lost to John Jones, which is the only loss in his record in the UFC.
And I do believe that it's going to be his only loss in his record.
You know, yeah, okay, no, and that's fine, and you might be right, but how is that? What's gonna happen to him mentally after this fight? You know, he just lost. He realizes that he's not truly the champion. That's not supposed to be his belt, right? It hit him, I think, last time, and he was able to overcome it. How's he gonna overcome it now? You know, and there's big names in that weight class as well. They're on the come up.
Oh yeah. I don't see the threat. But yeah, man, again, the most disappointing news I've heard. Is sad as hell to see that somebody like that be taken away from the UFC for 4 years, because if he's most likely going to test positive. And
what's insane about it is that we were just discussing bringing Jones to New York with Brock Lesnar, and everything fell off. Everything fell off. Like the biggest card was Mayweather versus McGregor. Fine, that's fine. But what was going to happen after that? Who's going to want to tune in to watch? What's the next UFC event that's going to be that's going to impact people to watch?
Well, even not only impact, but financially. Think about the UFC, right? You know, some company purchased them for what, $4 billion or something. Mm-hmm. So they still in debt with that whole situation, because I'm pretty sure they're not going to go flat anytime soon.
No one does that.
Well, with that being said, McGregor was the only person putting up numbers at this point. Well, we had Ronda Rousey
at one point. Yeah.
At one point, who else we had at the time? McGregor,
Anderson
John Jones.
When he was in.
Well, he wasn't making numbers. And let's say Brock Lesnar. That's another one. Brock Lesnar's gone. John Jones is gone now. Ronda Rousey obviously is gone. We only have Mayweather. He's the only person. Oh man, I said that like 4 times. McGregor. He's the guy that's going to bring them the most money. And right now, he might do like 1 or 2 more fights in the UFC. If so, and bye-bye. You know what I'm saying? Who's next?
Well, there's a list of people that he could fight next. They had this cool little like meme on Instagram. They had him like fighting...
No, it's not about who McGregor's going to fight next. Who's going to be the next superstar, period.
No,
it doesn't matter that the weight division. I'm just saying the next superstar.
No, I thought you were talking about what's next for him, in the sense that what's his next fight, or what his options are. All right, so that's pretty much said and done. Unfortunately, John Jones is a done deal. If this is true, honestly, I don't know if there's going to be any hype of him coming back. I don't necessarily care to see him at this point. It's good. Maybe it's just because I'm frustrated, but I don't care to see somebody who's cheated the game too many times.
Jumped off the bandwagon with that dude. Man.
Yeah, man, hands down.
That's it. The biggest fuck up in freaking sports, man. Most talent. It's ridiculous. Anyways, that's one. And then also, Brian Stan is no longer with the UFC. He not only stepped down from commentary, but he just decided to just completely leave the UFC. He's now the COO of a real estate company. So he decided to take that. He also mentioned something about his kids. He's away from his kids for way too long, and this job has him traveling around here and there. So now he's going to be with his kids. His salary is going to go down, drastically, but he's going to spend more time with his family. So we can.
No, absolutely. Especially with that crazy life that you live. You literally live on the road.
Yeah.
Every event is somewhere. You're taking a plane somewhere. And then there's great news with Matt Hughes. There was pictures of him going back to doing some jiu-jitsu. And if people don't know much about Matt Hughes, he got into a massive car accident. Mm-hmm. And
was he like the car hit the train or something, or the train hit something about him getting? Well, anyways,
he was a massive car accident. Whatever it was a massive car accident. I know both him and his wife got injured, and they were both in the hospital for several weeks. And Matt Hughes is finally back, and what better place to see him than in the mat? He was doing some jiu-jitsu, which was impressive.
Fucking awesome. That's awesome. Let's get straight to these fights coming up. There's a couple of them that lined up, and let's discuss them a little bit. The first one is Stephen Thompson versus George Masvidal. I'm looking forward, as a fan, I'm telling you that I'm looking forward to watching that fight. Because they're both going to stand up. I can't see none of them taking each other down.
I know, and also, this is not a Woodley fight where Woodley was moving back the whole time and they made it a boring fight. This is someone like Masvidal who's going to bring it. Whether he takes you to the ground or whether he's going to ground and pound you, or if he's just going to stand up, which he's an amazing striker, great boxer. That is a fight to look forward to, man. That weight class is stacked. We had actually predicted this fight from happening. I don't know if you recall that.
But there's only so much we can take credit for. There's not a lot of people in that division, and especially how the things were lining up. It just made sense to put these two guys together. On top of that, you need a good match. It's not just like a wrestler versus a stand-up fighter. We're talking about two stand-up fighters. So they're gonna brawl it out, and really good different styles, which I love to see. Karate style, right?
One that needs the space, the other one that really needs to keep it close.
Right. So it's fun. It's a fun fight.
Hands down.
One of the ones that I don't know how much numbers it's gonna bring, but it's a good fight, and those who are listening to you, make sure you catch that fight. That's gonna be amazing.
And what's crazy about it, it's probably gonna be a co-main event. It's probably gonna even be the main event.
Right. The next one is Lyoto Machida. He's back. He's going to be fighting Derek Bronson.
Great fight for both fighters.
Yeah, I agree 100%. They both need this type of fight. Machida he's coming back from, he got popped for steroids. He's officially back in the UFC, and the first person they give him is Derek Bronson.
Bronson is a big fight for both. I think they both could gain a lot out of this, Machida is coming back. He's considered now a veteran of the sport. Going against someone like Bronson, who's really going to be the future of the UFC. That's going to be a very interesting match from both ends. And when Machida's coming back, he's been out for a while. What Machida are we going to see, Because I always said Machida's unpredictable style, unorthodox style fighting was going to get him a championship. He did, but then when he fell, he couldn't bounce back up. For every fight he won, he lost the next one. Yeah. He wasn't very consistent, so he finally got caught.
What I like about in this, I'm actually predicting. Which, by the way, who you got? You got Thompson or George Masvidal? We did not mention the first fight.
I got Masvidal for this fight.
You got Masvidal? I got Stevenson. I think Stevenson is going to put him away. You got a round or what?
Do I have a round? Interesting. I think this fight goes to. Let's just say this fight goes to decision. Masvidal wins.
Okay. I say a knockout. I don't know if it's a third or fourth round, but I'm gonna say fourth round.
Hold on a second. What do you mean third or fourth round?
Oh, it's not a championship fight.
It might not be the main event on the pay-per-view either.
No, most likely it's not. Yeah. I'm sorry, I completely apologize.
No, this is a fight night, which I will tune in.
So in that case, I'll break it down 50. Second round knockout.
Second round knockout?
Knockout.
If it does happen, I can see that happen in the second round after they feel each other out first round.
I forgot. If it was 5 rounds, I was like, oh, this is a little more interesting. But with that 3 rounds, it's not a lot of time. So.
And it's crazy that I'm not picking Masvidal to knock him out. because he's a knockout artist. But I think that the strategy that Stevenson has and this distance that he keeps for the most part because of his karate, I think is going to give Masvidal a hard time to dig in, but he'll grind it out. Let's not lose track of
Lyoto versus Bronson. Who you have?
You know what, man? I got Lyoto first round TKO, man. That's a crazy predicament, but I'm going Lyoto just because so
you're biased. You're being way too biased.
I am way too biased, but what Machida are we gonna get? You know what I mean? If we get the legitimate Machida could do anything in there.
Sure. So you got Machida winning the first round?
TKO.
I think Machida's gonna win this fight, but it's gonna go to decision. And you would think, why the hell would that go to decision when Derek Bronson wants to rip somebody's head off? And Lyoto Machida is gonna keep that distance. This is the reason why, because Bronson, I feel like, is going to continue moving forward and forward. He just got knocked out in the last fight.
Yeah.
You remember? With a left hook. So, putting these two gentlemen up to fight, we're talking about Lyoto Machida keeping his pace, keeping his distance, right? And Derek Bronson might rush in and get knocked out by Lyoto, which is probably what you're predicting because of what happened with Ryan Bader.
That's right.
Ryan Bader run after him, 1-2 to the face, done. So that's probably what you're in the.
Yeah. I mean that's
because I would agree that that's a great prediction because Bronson is he's the aggressor. He might get clipped going in.
Once again, yeah, you're saying Bronson is the aggressor. We don't know what Lyoto we're gonna get out of this.
But Lyoto's never the one that is bringing the pace unless he sees blood, you know.
Yeah, but he finds a way to break you down. That's when he starts to usually get aggressive. As soon as he starts to break you down, start seeing those openings, and then he finds his way.
All right. I have Lyoto winning, but I think it's going to go to decision. Lyoto will win. The next one is Fabricio Verdum versus Derek Lewis.
That's an interesting fight.
That's a really interesting fight. We've seen Verdum's stand-up game develop throughout the years. He's about to be 40 years old, this man. And he's starting to actually run and I'm trying to say punch like a 40-year-old man, where he's a little bit slower than before. Much better boxing, a lot crispier, but I don't think that's going to make a difference with Lewis. I say Lewis is going to knock his lights out in the first or second round.
No, you can't do that. So you either pick first or pick second.
Second round.
Second round? I see Fabricio Verdum submitting Lewis in the first round. First round. If he finds him to the ground,
I agree.
I will tell you, first round is a wrap. And it's interesting because Fabricio hasn't necessarily won a fight as of recent of submission.
Right.
But I think after what happened to him in the last fight, and the way he got KO'd when he took his championship away, there's things like that make you think twice of how your game plan comes in to somebody who could throw punches like Derek Lewis.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once again, I think I have Fabricio Verdum submitting Derek Lewis in the first round.
Interesting. Okay. We have Cody versus Dillashaw.
Ooh, that's a New York card, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure it's probably a co-main event because although it's a tremendous fight.
I think isn't GSP Bingsby in New York?
It is.
That's the main
definitely
event.
A headliner. So this could be the second fight coming up.
And that should be the second fight.
It definitely should be.
You know what I mean? This is the way you promote Cody into
it's
the
so
mainstream in New York.
Right. When Dillashaw from the West Coast and Cody from the West Coast and they're coming to fight in New York.
It's dope, man.
It is dope.
And then you have a Canadian and a British also taking the main event. Like...
word. Yeah, that's a good point.
But I think New York needs it. I think we definitely need a huge card, and it looks like they're stacking it up pretty well.
I do see them booking Chris Weidman in that card. When they want to come back.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they'll get Jim Miller. Jim Miller forever fights in New York, New Jersey. You know. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that card as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as Cody versus Dillashaw, what a great fight! What great matchups they're putting up, man. And you put that little triangle between Cody, Dominic Cruz, and Dillashaw. Those guys are science when they fight. They're amazing.
And it's funny because they all three have a very similar style, right?
They bounce around.
Yeah, they bounce. They continue moving. Jab, jab, walk away. Jab, jab. They normally don't commit to a really strong punch. But when they do, it could be lights out. Not so much for the Dominic Cruz, but for
Dillashaw.
Cody, without a doubt. And Dillashaw could knock you
But
out.
I will say, the way Cody beat Dominic Cruz is from him staying poised and patient. That's how he really beat him. He let Dominic Cruz bounce around, so then he started to pick him apart while he was bouncing back in or whatnot. And I feel like between those three, the person who's more composed, and it almost seems like he has figured out the game plan of Dominic Cruz, and he's trained with Dillashaw. It's an interesting fight. I give the upper hand to Cody on this. And honestly, I really want him to become like the face of the UFC because he is such an amazing fighter, and he's so young, and there's still so much for him to learn.
Yeah,
I want him to be that big drawer. Yeah,
he's a good poster boy for it. So you have.
I got I got no love.
Yeah.
I got no love. This is the interesting thing, right? Let's say this. Oh, this is actually a belt, so this is a 5-rounder, right? I see Cody picking him apart, and this going into decision.
Cody's, yeah.
I got Cody in the decision.
Exact thing.
Did it?
They kind of fall down the middle. If you think about their speed, how they're going, I don't see anybody really throwing that right hand unless it's, I guess maybe it's later rounds you probably see Cody trying to throw that right hand, but I don't see either one of them finishing. And I agree with you, Cody decision. Decision is definitely one of them.
Yeah, it's overall it's gonna be. I think that's the fight to watch. That is the fight to watch on that New York card
for sure. And the main event of that card, George St. Pierre versus Michael Bisping.
I still say Cody's the fight to watch because you know what you're gonna get out of Dillashaw and you know what you're gonna get out of Cody. But going into this fight with George St. Pierre, we don't know what George St. Pierre we're going to see. Yeah. We know what Michael Bisping we're going to see.
Yeah, for sure. This is very good. You can't predict either one, but I could tell you Michael Bisping is going to move forward. I see George St. Pierre trying to take him down. I mean, could he stand up with Michael Bisping? Maybe for a little bit, but I don't know if he wants to do that.
They're two very technical fighters when it comes to the stand-up game. Obviously, I think George St. Pierre has the better grappling, just because he's just a purist when it comes to he finds the right time to take you down. The only guy who ever to take down BJ Penn, he really exposed BJ when he took him down. This fight is gonna be very interesting. It's gonna be like Willie said. It's gonna be one of those things where George St. Pierre is only gonna go for a takedown. Or this is going to be a very cautious George St. Pierre, who's going to want to stay on the feet, run around a little bit, really get his feel back, because no matter how much he trains, go back train the octagon, there's nothing like being on the spotlight the day of, right? Absolutely. So, what's going to be very interesting, what George St. Pierre we're going to get. We had discussed this before, and I had said this is a perfect match for George St. Pierre to come back, and you mentioned, but Michael Bisping is such a big name, which you're absolutely right. I still stand by the way Michael Bisping fight. This could be an ideal fight for George St. Pierre if he plays his cards correctly, obviously.
So you have.
All right. I mean, if we're gonna get to the point already, I will say, you know what? I got George St. Pierre in decision. So many fucking decisions. Someone better knock somebody out, man. Someone freaking prove me wrong.
I'm gonna go for Michael Bisping. I think Michael Bisping is gonna knock out George St. Pierre in the third round or something, third, fourth. I'm gonna stay to third, but I think Michael Bisping knocks him out. I don't know what George St. Pierre we're gonna come out with, but I know what Michael Bisping we're gonna have, and I believe that Michael Bisping is gonna expose him in the stand-up game and knock him lights out third or fourth round.
That's not a bad prediction either. That's one of these things about some of these fights. Some of these fights are just a toss-up. Like, we know exactly who's gonna win, but there's some matches that are so unpredictable, dude. Anything you say is right. Any round you would have picked, I would have agreed with you because that's just such an unpredictable fight.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, let's wrap this up. We just want to thank all of our fans. The support we're getting is great, guys. Continue leaving comments on YouTube. That's the Will and Rock Podcast on YouTube. Leave a comment, and we'll be more than glad to respond back. Leave questions, guys. Leave questions. That's what we're looking for. If you like our video, just hit like. If you want to write a comment how good you liked it, this way we get a better idea for the next
even
episodes.
if it's a criticism.
Yeah. Please. Anything negative, bring it as well.
But anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, the Will and Rock Podcast, and we out later.